On Tuesday evening, the newly crowned King Charles went to Sandringham to enjoy a few days' rest with his Queen Camilla. Now, maybe he does have a good idea about what could be waiting for him. There are a few groups out there who have written on a regular basis to the King, and the latest letters coming from these groups have been addressed to Sandringham. So they're hoping that Charles is going to see these letters when he gets there. Now, typically, a member of staff is going to read the letters and filter them. That's the usual process. But they will let Charles know what the letters contained. Just like his mother before him, he knows they have to be up to speed with what the people are thinking. So, what is Charles going to do? Well, he's got two options here. He can take action, which of course is the better option, or he's just going to ignore it. I'm afraid there's not going to be any halfway measures acceptable to the people writing these letters. We already know that Charles is somebody who is not comfortable with confrontation, and he just wants the last years of his life to be peaceful and happy. I understand that. Now he has the job that he has waited his entire life for, and above all, he does want to be a popular king. And actually, I think he has a good chance of achieving this goal. He's gotten off to a good start, that's for sure, but he understands there is an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. So, what is the subject of the correspondence that is awaiting him at Sandringham? Well, of course, it's about Meghan Markle, her use of surrogates, and the fact that there are two invisible children in the line of succession. The new king is not comfortable with this problem. He's a little bit scared of it. Charles, along with his late mother, both were aware that Meghan scammed them. She, in fact, was never pregnant with Archofficial, and she was never pregnant with Invisibet either. I think the royals know this. Now, why the Queen did not expose this scam as a scam, I don't know. The most popular theory is that the Queen would have had to act dramatically, because Harry agreed with all of this, let's remember. Some people have said that Harry's actions could be considered to be treachery against the monarchy, by lying in order to put two children in the line of succession who are not even real or who are not really theirs. The children would have to be born of the body, and the fact is, they were not. Now, of course, the Queen got a little weaker during her last years. She was not in good health, and I understand she was probably just sick of a lot of stuff. She refused to take action against Harry. If she had done what needed to be done, the monarchy would be finished. I mean, it's sad to say, but the Queen did have a habit sometimes of putting her family members before her duty to the country. And it looks like Charles now finds himself in the same position as his late mother. So which road is he going to take? He knows that the people want answers about Meghan's deception, and some members of the royal household even have a name for it. They call it Meghan deceit. Of course he knows, and I'm sure it bothers him. He understands that the people really want him to speak about this issue. Now, at the moment, he should be the happiest man in this world. He's finally the king. But it looks like Meghan has sucked a lot of the joy and euphoria away from him. And apparently, when it comes to seeking retribution, Charles does not agree with Camilla and William. They want to finish Meghan off once and for all, but Charles isn't so sure. People have said, all right, wait until after the coronation, and then Charles is going to do something decisive, but I'm not so sure. At this point, I think we have officially reached the point where Meghan and Harry are probably never going to show up in the UK ever again. The royal family, as a group, would be thrilled if that were true. There are way too many rumors that have leaked through palace walls that Harry has had meetings about making, as he called it, a seamless return to the family, of course without Meghan by his side. And if Charles lets him do this to make his last few years on the throne as unhappy as his mother's, then he's only going to have himself to blame. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch and see what he decides to do. When Charles is at Sandringham, the letters waiting for him are not going to make him very happy. For Meghan to expose the truth about the rumors about the kids, it would have to benefit her somehow. But really, all it would do would be to expose her and Harry as duplicitous or make them look weak. And the last thing Meghan wants is to be considered a weak person. And then we have to think about all the people who are going to have to agree to this story. I mean, the doctor who just shut down her practice all of a sudden, the hospitals in the UK and California where these invisible kids were supposedly born. Now, I'm sure any live-in staff member who lived with them has to know the truth, or at least be suspicious of Meghan's pregnancies. I do not believe it's going to be Meghan to expose herself. Her truths, after all, have been proven to be very questionable and usually not true at all. I think the only way to stop the rumors and the speculation is to do a DNA test, and it would have to be performed by a company whose integrity cannot be questioned. I don't believe Meghan would ever agree to that. So I think the best thing to happen is for the king to expose it before anybody else can. See, if Meghan leaks something out first that the kids are not real or they came from surrogates, and that the king and all the other members of the royal family were complicit in this whole mess, it is going to be the downfall of the monarchy, I'm afraid. That Charles would dare to protect his treacherous son and his nasty wife rather than the people of the UK and the Commonwealth. So Charles has got to do something decisive, or I'm afraid that Meghan and Harry are going to beat him to the punch and all is going to be lost. Clearly, Harry is causing a lot of trouble for his father. Charles is the king. This is the job that he has waited until past retirement age for, so he needs to act like one. Meghan and Harry have proven themselves to be enemies of the country, and they need to be dealt with in that way. With great privilege, after all, comes great responsibility. Charles has never had a problem with the privilege, obviously. It's past time that he stepped up to the responsibility bit, if you ask me. Meghan and Harry have told so many lies, they filed so many lawsuits, and they have tried to defame the UK and the people living in it. They exploit the Constitution for their personal financial gain. They have portrayed the UK as a country filled with racists. They have slandered and mocked the British people's way of life and actively encouraged other people to do the same. It's time that somebody put a stop to their awful behavior. In the span of a year, King Charles lost his father, he lost his mother, and he's had to get through their funerals. Also, as a father, I know that he has been worried about Harry. It's clear the effect that this nasty person Meghan has had on him. She really is evil. And at this point, it looks like Harry is about as bad as Meghan is. He really is blind if he cannot see what Meghan is up to. I think that she's going to try to get a little more cash, though. I do not believe that Meghan is finished yet. I suspect that by now Meghan has at least a few million hidden somewhere, but I don't think she's done. I do hope that the king can enjoy a nice rest because he needs it. And the more I think about why the late queen did or did not do what she did or did not do, the more I suspect that this was her plan. She wanted to pass on the problem to Charles and William, and I understand why she would want to do that. I'm actually glad that she did not have to pass away with this ugly business as one of her last actions. And then, of course, we got to think about Andrew, who I am convinced is another component here. Only a 1-year NDA, but still it got the queen through the Jubilee, and then she passed away, and then, of course, there was the funeral. It seems to me like Andrew and the lawyers are now taking off the gloves, though. Is he going to take one for the family, I wonder, because he is no longer a working royal? He has nothing left to lose, I guess? To get rid of Meghan for good, to shut her up forever, everything needs to come out. And then there would come the NDA and a big check, and maybe finally Meghan would be gone. It's ridiculous to say that it cannot be worded in a way to make sure that Harry and Meghan bear the brunt of the responsibility. The wording needs to be very smart, but there's going to be somebody at the palace who can do it, and I know the lawyers would carefully look at it. It needs to invoke public sympathy for the late queen, and horror at the duplicity of Meghan and Harry. Thanks to their own actions, Meghan and Harry have already been alienated from the family. That official portrait of working royals definitely confirmed that. But the one Charles dares not to alienate is his own heir, the next king, William. William swore an oath of allegiance to his father on Saturday, so I think the king needs to respect that loyalty, and he needs to put William first. And you, do you agree with us? Please tell me what you think below in the comments section, and we can also talk about this issue. If you think my video is helpful, don't be afraid to like and share it with your friends and family who would enjoy it. And don't forget to subscribe.